Hello, dear audience. Thank you for joining us live and welcome to the second session of the Discover Moldova program. Discover Moldova is a series of 6 events delivered on a monthly basis, organized by America House Chisinau in partnership with Antrim, the National Inbound Tourism Association of Moldova. The first session of the program took place on January 13th and was about the Moldovan gastronomy, presented by Elena Bălățel, expert in tourism product development. She talked about the traditional meals and recipes from different regions of Moldova and explained why Moldova is a gastronomic destination. Today, we continue with experiential tourism, also known as immersion travel. Worldwide, Moldova is still an unknown destination, yet it is wild, charming, with many hidden treasures. And today we will discover or find out more about the soft adventure activities Moldova can offer, such as rock climbing, kayaking, hot air ballooning, bird watching, grapes harvesting, and other authentic experience you can enjoy and create unforgettable memories. My name is Margareta Kaluger. I am the program manager at America House Chisinau, and our special guest today is Andrei Rusu, co-founder of GoAdventure Moldova. Hello, Andrei. Thank you for being with us today and for accepting the invitation to share your expertise and give us insider tips on how to experience Moldova like a local and enjoy the best activities our country can offer.
Hello, nice to meet you here.
We are very glad to have you today. And before starting, I would like to inform our viewers that you can ask your questions in the comment section and our speaker will gladly answer them. And now I will let you take the reins from here, Andrei. You can start your presentation.
Thank you. So, hello guys. I don't know how many of you are now online, but I really want you to put questions so I can interact with the audience. I don't want to do this presentation by myself. So let's talk about experiential travel in Moldova. But let's first talk about how I started to do this. So it was about 5 years ago when I was thinking about launching my business in travel. I was thinking of what kind of travel should I try. And it was actually the time when experiential travel started to bloom worldwide. So about Moldova a little bit, it is really the right choice for you to choose Moldova right now, because Moldova is still the Europe least visited country, but it's brimming with cool experiences. And you just imagine the colorful traditions, fields of sunflowers, and the world's biggest wine cellars. And that's just for starters. So let's go with the next slide. So what is actually experiential travel? It is about experiencing a place with all of your senses, your sense of smell, taste, touch, and the other ones, and giving a better feel of how other people live. Well, how do we engage with the locals? Actually, how do travelers engage with the locals, especially in Moldova? So it's about engaging with our history, with our food and wine, with our culture, environment, and social life. Next one. History. So when we talk about experienced travel, so we learn the history of a nation that you might never heard of. So it's Moldova. And this helps you broaden your horizons and change your perspective and give up your stereotypes. Because sometimes people don't know much thing about a country. They just heard something, but they don't really know so much. So it's really important to experience few activities in the country in order to know it. About history, so the oldest historical sites in our countries are the fortresses, and well, there are not so many left. And one of it is Soroca, we really like it, and this fortress in the medieval time was part of a huge defensive system along the Nistru River, and well, it's about 5 centuries old, and it was made by Stefan cel Mare. It was one of our kings in Moldova, and it was designed using the supreme law of harmony, named the Golden Section. So it's a round fortress. This fortress it is unique among examples of European defensive architecture. It was renovated in 2015, and now it is open for travelers. And inside, the local guide gives you insights about history and events which took place in this fortress. Other historical sites that we show to our tourists is the wooden churches and the monasteries from Moldova. Here on this slide, you can see the medieval wooden church Assumption of the Mother of God. This church has roots in the distant past, and it is the only wooden church from Moldova that preserves the classic medieval architecture of Moldova. It is nearby Chisinau, so we encourage our tourists to visit this church in order to discover the religious tradition of our country. Next one. Well, let's talk about the countryside, the place where time stood still in Moldova. Because outside Chisinau, the country is made up of farmland and small villages built on rolling hills. Here, life looks like a frozen in time, where cars must avoid the cows walking slowly on the road, where the locals will be happy to have you as a guest and as a friend. Rural tourism in Moldova is on the rise, with lots of households ready to receive tourists establishing every year. All this is possible because Moldova has preserved its originality and peculiar lifestyle, able to express its rich culture, customs, and roots in the nation residing in the countryside. So, for example, here in this picture is an original household in Orheiul Vechi. It is 1 hour from Chisinau, and it's open for the public all day round. And here you will discover how locals used to live centuries ago. Well, castles are another heritage, our historical heritage. And here we have one of our wine castle, Castel Mimi. It is considered one of the most beautiful architectural masterpieces in the world of wine. So the story of these castles begins in 1893, when Constantin Mimi, the last governor of Bessarabia, planted the first vines on the place that would become legend over years. Although it has been over a century since its founding, Constantin Mimi's winery has preserved its history and tradition that have consecrated it. So, to be clear, this is nowadays a winery where tourists can come for wine tasting, but it has mostly a historical importance in our country. The Soviet heritage, it is actually quite popular among foreign travelers, especially American tourists. So the Soviet Union may be gone, but there is one place where you can still experience it. It is an unrecognized country, 60 kilometers from Chisinau, so about 1 hour and a half from Chisinau, with the name of Transnistria. It seems to be the only place in Europe where that did not get the memo about the Berlin Wall coming down. This small strip of land east of Nistru River, sandwiched between Moldova and Ukraine, remains pro-Russian even after the 1991 fall of the USSR. The breakaway state proudly celebrates its Soviet heritage, statues of Lenin lining the streets, while the Transnistria flag is the only flag in the world to still feature the hammer and the sickle emblem. So, but nowadays the region has been free from conflict, and it is ready to welcome tourists. Well, here in the picture you can see me with some of my colleagues performing Soviet dance during a travel show. Next one is food. So, sorry. When you come to Moldova, you can enjoy the culinary traditions that our grandparents passed on to us to create simple but delicious dishes. After a while, the smell of our food will be one of your strongest travel memories. You are. So, what's interesting about Moldova is that we really have mixed cuisine. Also, our national cuisine is quite diverse and wealthy due to the fact that Moldova is situated in a region that is rich with natural resources such as fruits, vegetables, sheep, and poultry. People who visit Moldova can be sure locals won't let them be hungry. In spite of the fact that Moldova cuisine has been influenced by Greeks, Turkish, Balkan, and Western European, Ukrainian and Russian, as well as Jewish and German cuisines, it is very appreciated for its peculiarities. Traditional of our local cuisine are the dishes prepared from various vegetables, tomatoes, sweet peppers, eggplant, white cabbage, beans, onion, garlic, leek, and etc. Vegetables are used to prepare salads and sauces. They are baked, sauteed, salted, or marinated, obtaining those real culinary pieces of art. Many families make a lot of preserves for winter, and one of the most popular being the stuffed peppers. So here in the picture you can see the preparation of stuffed peppers. These are made with local fresh vegetables and are later served with mashed potatoes or meat. So here, this is an activities where tourists can actively take part. Moldovan cuisine is sure to come to everyone's liking. It is so various and rich that it becomes problematic to savor even 1/3 of all known dishes. Abundance of fruits and vegetables, fertile pastures to breed cattle and poultry, ancient customs and dairy products. All this and many other features have made the Moldovan cuisine unrepeatable. Here you can see a dessert prepared at the Castelnumi winery, which we looked earlier. And the activities we do, first of all, one of our activities is named treasure hunting. So yes, when we think of Moldova, first thoughts take us to the aromatic fruits which grow abundantly in our orchards. Well, fortunately, the harvest season starts in spring and finishes in late autumn, bringing lots of joy for both locals and travelers. We want to share this happiness with our tourists, so we visit a few guest houses during our tours with their gardens where a tourist can pick the tasty fruits. And well, you don't manage to visit Moldova. Sorry. And if you don't manage to visit Moldova when your favorite fruits ripen, don't worry, as you will be able to enjoy them in cakes or other desserts later. Well, another activity is the culinary workshops. Well, traditional cuisine, as I told you earlier, is famous for its wide variety of different dishes and delicious taste. One of the most appreciated and diverse culinary gem is placinta, a traditional pie made with cottage cheese, potato, cabbage, sour cream, apple, or pumpkin. So it's quite different. Classic ingredients are mostly the same, but the actual size, shape, color will be as different as only a rich and diverse culture can be. So every region in Moldova, every village, every household has its own way of making plăcinte. Here you can see a tourist which takes part at the plăcinte culinary workshop. So these activities can be performed in different guest houses or wineries all around the country. Let's go to the next one.
Andrei, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but where can our American visitors find these workshops, or where can they register or see a list of them? Can you provide us with some addresses or?
Yeah, sure. Well, as I told you earlier, workshops are mostly done at the guest houses, and we provide them during our culinary tours. So when our tourists join our tours, they have an option to choose the culinary workshop in different locations.
But where can you have like a list of these workshops on your Facebook page or?
Well, there is no specific list, but you can find the posts on our Facebook page with the workshop at different locations. Yes, so if you scroll the timeline on our Facebook page, you can find these activities.
GoAdventure Moldova Facebook page. Yes.
Yes, GoAdventure Moldova, our Facebook page. Yes, you can find it everywhere in Moldova, from north to south. And it's not only about plăcinte. It's usually tourists like to do cookies because it's the easiest dish to do, and they prepare the cookies just before lunch, and while they have a lunch, the cookies are cooked, and after they finish the lunch, they can, or dinner, they can serve the cookies that they made by themselves. Yes. And next is campfire cooking. It is also part of our experiential travel activities. And here in the pictures, it's a special dish for us. It might look simple, but let me tell you a little bit about it. So actually, you cannot say you know the taste of Moldova until you try authentic mamaliga. Well, steaming hot with the earthy caramelized smell, it will send you back to childhood. Whoever says that mamaliga is just like a polenta, they are very wrong. It's not that fancy Italian dish. In fact, it is very simple and called the peasant food. This means it can be cooked with very little and does not even require skills or special pots. And we cooked this during our camping activities. Things get complicated only when it has to be served, because since mamaliga is sticky and will stick to a knife when fresh. So please cut it with a sewing thread. Being a staple food from a Moldovan table, it is served as an accompaniment to stews and meat dishes, and frequently garnished with brinza, sour cream, and sometimes fried or scrambled eggs. Last but not the least, good mamaliga goes with a glass of good homemade wine. Yes, so we were talking about wine, so let's get to the winemaking. So during your holiday in Moldova, you will realize that Moldova is not about the wine, actually. It's about the story that stands behind that wine. And from the carefully handpicked grapes till the shape of a glass that will best unveil the wine flavor. So next, I will show you the stories which stay behind the wine. So we have several wineries in Moldova, several types of wineries in Moldova. First one, and my beloved, is the family-owned winery. Here we have Etc. is a small family-owned winery. Here they believe that love and care is the key of family well-being, and you will feel this during your stay here. For more than a decade, 3 generations of Luciano family, it's family which takes care of this winery. So they take care of this land for 3 generations, and the vineyard pays back with a great harvest. Um, here in the picture you can see a tourist having.
We cannot see the picture.
Oh, sorry.
The slide didn't move.
I didn't, so I'm talking, but I didn't switch the slide. So yes, it's what I like in these wineries. The tourists can have the wine tasting and a meal outside in the vineyard. Sorry. And this winery has besides wonderful wine, it has also great cuisine, and the dishes are all made from local products.
Could you repeat again the name of this winery?
Etc. is a winery in the very south of Moldova, on the border with Ukraine. So yes, let's go to the next one. Well, this aside from family wineries, of course, we have large wineries, and one of the activities our tourists like is the underground biking. And underground biking can be done in several wineries, but here in the picture you have Nistru, which is the largest underground winery in the world. It stretches an impressive 200 kilometers and deepens up to 85 meters. Actually, Nistru is the ultimate playground for wine lovers, and not only. These cellars are home to more than 2 million bottles of wine and have been listed in the Guinness Book records as the largest wine collection in the world. Well, here every one of our tourists will get a bike and start the guided tour. Tourists should prepare for 5-kilometer bike through limestone cellars, wine barrels, and the hidden wine collection. By the end of the tour, they'll be rewarded with a wine tasting of 3 different wines, well, at least 3 different type of wines. While enjoying the wine in the tasting hall, tourists will have a chance to be part of a live folk performance. A sparkling wine quest takes part in another underground winery named Krikova. It is also one of a few wineries in the world that still produces sparkling wine according to the traditional Champenois method. The wine aging is done fully in the underground cellars, boasting 70 kilometers of total length. Hidden at a depth of 80 meters, endless lines of stands are holding the bottles at a certain angle. Currently, it is home to 1.2 million bottles and 640 types of wine. Well, the oldest wine in the collection and the only one of its kind in the world is the wine Easter Jerusalem, produced in just one batch in 1902. So here you can see in the picture the collection of this winery of old wines, and here with our tourists we can do wine quests. Grape harvest is the next activity we do, and it's related to wine. So grape harvest is a seasonal activities, as you can understand, and we organize it from August till October at different wineries in Moldova. Harvest is the first and foremost activity that takes place in the process of winemaking. The perfectly ripe bunches of grapes are carefully picked and transferred over the winemakers to turn them into Dionysus elixir, well, into wine. For a wine lover, being a part of a harvest can be a very special experience, and it brings you closer to the raw essentials, like the berries and the terroir that gives the final product its main characteristics. The harvest experience is about getting your hands dirty, picking the grapes, and yes, this will be not only about all work, but also lots of fun. So here we have a grape harvest activities at the Purcari winery, also in south of Moldova. And the final activity we'd like to show you at our wineries is team building during grape harvest. And here we have, one of the most appreciated team building activities is grape-stomping in this Celentano style. The process, also known as grape treading, is exactly what it sounds like: climbing barefoot into a large vat of grapes to trample them into what will later become wine, a tradition that dates back thousands of years. Mashing them up like this separates the grapes from their skins, squeezes out the juices, and begins the process of fermentation. Wine pressing is mostly done mechanically these days, so you might not be able to do this in Moldova. But you can practice this pressing at the guest houses. Um, well, this activity is perfect for pairs, but also for groups. Let's go for next. Culture is another way to do experiential travel in Moldova. So here you will get beneath the skin of our culture to experience life as a local. Enhancing cultural heritage is one of our core mission pursued by us. So let's talk about cultural heritage. Here we have one of our icons, which we name Iye. It's a name in Romanian, it's a blues, and it's arguably the strongest representative piece of our folklore. This handmade embroidery is passed down from century to century without going out of fashion. So you can see that today there are lots of artisans hidden away in small villages that carry out this tradition in making these blouses. One of them is Ecaterina Popescu, and she is an inspired promoter of our cultural heritage at Rustic Art Community Center in a village named Clișovănău, about 1 hour from Chisinau. Well, if you come there, she will unfold you the meaning of the floral patterns and tell never-ending stories about the history of femininity in this part of the world. Well, tourists can take part of the creation of this blues. Next one is our authentic craft, and specifically the carpets, which has a special place in our culture. There have been times when a carpet passed down from generation to generation was the most precious treasure of a family. Born from folk tradition and the skills of a craftswoman, the carpet was not just an object but the story of her life. Over time, we lost the ability to understand their symbols, but fortunately, there are storytellers like Tatiana Popa who can unravel incredible tales. She was also the one to bring back the life unique technique of carpet weaving called covorul limbumbi. This craftswoman is owner of Casa Părintească Crafting Center, about 1 hour and a half from Chisinau, where we like to go with tourists and experience this crafting activity. Well, next we have our talented artisans, and here it's about the pottery, which is an ancient activity that has been practiced for centuries in Moldova. Casa Olarul is a traditional pottery house famous for creating high-quality ceramics. The complex offers visitors a unique combination of great shopping, hands-on clay experience, and the opportunity to step back in time by visiting the Pottery Museum with the biggest amphora in Moldova. Here we have another handicraft activities, which can be done by tourists. And well, what's interesting about this, but because when you do like a big carpet, you cannot take it home. But here you can do these small pieces of art, and by the end of activities, each tourist can take it home as a memory, as a souvenir. Folk performance is also part of a cultural experience. So upon a time in Moldova, people would gather in the center of a village on Sunday afternoon to spend time together. Well, this was a long time ago. The heart of these activities was hora, or it is a slow to moderate tempo, so dance, so young and old couple could participate. This dance was quite important for teenagers as the skills they displayed were considered indicators of their abilities as future spouses. Sundays are not the same as before, but you can still discover this wonderful dance during our tours at the Butuceni guest house in Orheiul Vechi. Usually we do these activities during lunch, so tourists can join. Environment. Hosting a diversity of landscape preservation, natural wonders, Moldova gives you the opportunity to spend some moments of calm. So first activity is the hiking, which we name it easy hiking because it's really easy to hike in Moldova. Moldova being a quite plain landscape. And here we have a picture of Orheiul Vechi, which is a cultural, historical, and archaeological complex situated in a rocky gorge of the Reuti River, also about 1 hour from Chisinau. Well, you will hear me telling you that 1 hour and a half from Chisinau. And yes, Moldova is a small country, and that's why most destinations are in a range of 1 hour, 2 hours from Chisinau, and Orheiul Vechi also. This valley of Orheiul Vechi is shaped by the tireless river with this natural landscape and features huge limestone outcroppings, and it's a perfect location for an easy hike. There are also several ancient monuments here and buildings set in the valley from various historical periods dating from the 10th century till the occupation of the Golden Horde in the 14th century. Next activity is countryside biking. Actually in Moldova, we believe that eternity was born in the countryside. Well, there is a saying in Moldova that eternity was born in the countryside. And if you want to discover these everlasting moments, we suggest you to do it on 2 wheels. So it's slower, much slower than in the bus. Now you have, here you have a chance to discover some wonderful villages, plus planes between them with your own bike or one offered for rent by us. Here is camping at night. Actually, there is nothing better than good food, fresh air, live music, and all your friends around in a great landscape. So in Moldova, you will have the opportunity to camp in a comfortable tent down a hill and explore the glittery sky at night long. Bird watching in Valeni. Valeni is a village in southwest of Moldova, where Prut River flows into Danube River, and the Prutul de Jos Reservation. It's a land from Valeni to Giurgiulești in Cahul district. In this region, there are two large natural lakes, Beleu and Manta, and they are located approximately 2 kilometers away from each other, while the first one is part of a scientific reserve. So Beleu is part of a scientific reserve, and you can visit both of these lakes. But Beleu Lake is a wonderful land of poultry, water lilies, and unique plants in our country. In this, it is the ideal place for those who feel good in harmony with birds, nature, and other animals. The lake hosts pelicans heading from the Danube, black gypsies, white egrets, and gray hawthorns, and other birds. Between May and July, white and yellow water lilies blossom on Beleu Lake. So actually, this is the period when we recommend this activity to take part, between May and July. Rock climbing. As I told you before, Moldova is quite plain, but we still have some hills and the rocks that can be climbed. So the brave ones will have opportunity to conquer the steep peaks which rise above Orheiul Vechi. Rock climbing is an exciting and challenging activity that will give you a rush like no other. Here you can get to a haunted cave monastery carved into limestone rock by monks in the 13th century. Well, this is in Orheiul Vechi. Uh, After you get up, you get on the upper point of a hill. You will unveil a spectacular view overlooking the river and the entire plains around. Maybe do you have some questions by our
So now we don't have any question.
No questions. Too bad. Kayak canoe on Nistru River is also an activity which became famous actually not so long time ago, a few years ago. And well, during our tours, we'll take you to the north of Moldova. Here, from the banks of Nistru River, we will travel downstream on kayak canoes. Beside the changing landscape, during these 2-3 hours spent on the boat, you will learn about the river fauna and listen to the stories whispered by the local fishermen. These activities can also be done by individual tourists or by groups. Hot air ballooning, another activities. You can actually select from a ballooning experience above Chisinau, the capital of Moldova, or in another landscape. You will experience a total peace and tranquility over some of the most splendid scenery our country has to offer, with nothing to disturb the peace but the occasional hiss of the burners around you. This activity is done mostly during summertime, but it is actually very interesting also during winter time, because during winter you can actually see the wild animals from above. And the off-road activity. This is a picture of our Polish tourist from a few years ago. It is also nearby Orheiul Vechi. Here you will start the off-road activity. Well, this off-road activity takes about 4 hours and takes you through rocky cliffs, going through the dense forest and crossing the winding river named Reud. During this itinerary, you will also stop by a ship hold to have a fresh cheese tasting with some homemade wine. So it's not only about off-road, it's also some cuisine here. And this was my presentation. And well, as before you ask your questions, I would like to remind you the experiences we talk about. So you have them on this slide. And yes, let's go to the last slide. So question and answer session.
So, dear audience, if you have questions, please leave them in the comment section and we will answer them. And for now, the time that we are waiting, I would love to ask you, Andrei, what is your favorite soft adventure activity in Moldova?
Oh, hard to say. I actually like to wander around in the countryside and just observe the local communities and talk to people. Well, it's my preferred activity. When I go to a village I have never been, I just go and when I see some activities that people do, I go and try to interact with them and to ask them about their life, about just about their lifestyle, so I can have an idea about this local community.
Okay, thank you very much. And we've got a question from Connor. If you only had one weekend to explore Moldova, what would you do?
Well, this would be a very stuffed weekend. um, well, I would not keep you in Chisinau. I would take you outside our capital and show you around. Of course, I would take you to some culinary activity in the countryside. Uh, I will take you to taste some homemade wine, or we can go to a winery and have some collection wine. Well, actually, if you are a wine lover, you have lots of activities. Uh, Lately, our wineries are doing stuff like wine painting, wine blending, blind tasting, and different activities. Like lately, they also do these scrubs using grape seed oil, and it's also an activity interesting for foreigners, for travelers. Um, yeah, and well, we can have a half-day trip to Transnistria also, because there they have biggest cognac factory in Moldova, and also what people don't know about it is they have a sturgeon farm where you can have a black caviar tasting, and it's also very nice activity.
So this will be during the first day. What about the second day of the weekend? Where will somebody go? So to a winery, to Transnistria, and then the next day?
Well, countryside winemaking, Transnistria, and let's not forget about cultural activities. Uh, I would go to the south of Moldova. There are some villages now near. Location I show you where the bird watching tour was near the
Valeni.
Prutul de Jos reservation, and there are really some really good handicrafts over there, and we can spend a whole day uh, going from one handicrafter to another, and try and learn about the activity, about their craft.
Okay, thank you very much. Valeria asked, which of the activities is the most requested by the foreigners? If there is one activity more popular than others?
Um, Let me think. Well, one of two tourists goes to winemaking activities to try. So at least half of the tourists are actively taking part at winemaking. Then lots of them goes to Transnistria, as I told you earlier, and like a one-day tour. Um, it also depends on the period of a year. Um, During autumn, we have tourists like from Asia, which really love to go to harvest fruits and vegetables. So we have these harvesting tours. So yes, these would be the most interesting activities. If we go specifically, for example, if we talk about winemaking, crushing the grapes is one of the best activities we have because it's lots of fun when you crush the grape. If we talk about handicraft, people like to do stuff like pottery because after this they can take home the object they done. Um, if we talk about activities in the nature, biking tours would be the most popular because we have several biking routes already launched in Moldova. So yeah, this would
Can
be
you name a few? Where can they find these agencies or these shops or renting shops?
Well, it's not so easy to find them online, but you can do on Moldova.travel. Yeah, Moldova.travel, where you can find some example of routes which you can follow.
What about hiking activities? What are the main destinations where people can go for a hike?
Usually it is north of Moldova, both on Nistru and Prut River. So, as for foreigners to understand, Prut River is a river which divides us from Romania, and Nistru River in the north divides us from Ukraine. So it's like border rivers. So in the north, I consider that Moldova has the most beautiful scenery, and we do the hiking activities in both parts. So, for example, in on the border of Ukraine, along Nistru River, we have Naslavcha, which is a very nice landscape, and on the north west we have Druitoarea and Varatic. These are two villages, and between them we can do a very nice hiking activity. Because on the north west, in this region I'm telling you is Toltrele Prutulu, is a natural monument, which are remains of corals, of sea corals. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much, Andrei. I see we don't have any other questions, so I would like to thank you for your presentation about the Moldovan soft adventure activities. You presented a diverse range of activities, so I'm sure our viewers find out at least one activity to their taste. Dear audience, thank you for watching this live. Our next session is scheduled for March, and it will be about Marțișor and the cultural tourism. This program is brought to you and organized by America House Chisinau, the cultural center administered by the Public Affairs section of the U.S. Embassy in Moldova. Our center is open to everyone and the access is free of charge. We provide cultural and educational programs such as personal and professional development trainings, discussion club sessions, book club meetings, contests, debates, movie screenings for all those who want to develop their English skills or learn more about American culture. We also have a library with resources in English that you can borrow. You can find more about our programs on our Facebook page, America House Chisinau, and our website, americahouse.md. Wish you an amazing evening and thank you.